Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop him. But when the world needed him most, he vanished.
This year, the town has raised to create happy memories and starting with River Road Band. We're ready with new fun and Jackie Stacy with it, treating every wall to a colorful coat of fake crazy rituals. And deliver details, checking and taming until the job is done. Use the best smile on your face. Consider ServiceRay.com for a free estimate today. ServiceRay Pictures. Let's sell it.
Over the weekend, the New York Post describing those migrant-tent cities as
storms that hit Farrell through New York last night. New city leaders that were concerned about the migrants that were living at the point that field about 5 miles from
Immigration, immigrants.
I believe Aang can save the world.
James Madison High School, the second floor into the gymnasium. Let's tell the kids, the students there tomorrow, which is today, this morning, we're going to go remote. So they displaced 2,000 students at that school who don't come from
Symptoms running high and makes it One fight even took a deadly turn over the weekend. The New York Post describing those migrant citizens as shelter.
Safety concerns tonight for migrants after a man was stabbed to death at the
cost per student. This is for every kid in the city. Look at that. It costs $45,000 for every kid in the city. It's interesting about the decision that they set it up they have placed these tents. Rather than driving to the city without mistakes, they can't because they're on a runway. So what they did is they just used heavy stones to pick up that. There was a storm back in December 2018, and what happened was all shippers and tents and migrants were qualified. So that is what yesterday exactly what right now. The citizen already into this particular high school, and all those kids who go there normally will have to study remotely. It's unbelievable how much these kids have to sacrifice, not only the economically disadvantaged in the tough area, they're in overcrowded classrooms. Many of these kids do not speak English, even in Spanish. Even if it's the first language, it's a different language. And then on top of that, they're asked to stay home and do the Zoom learning, which we know is absolutely detrimental to advancement. And then they find out they're going to go into the classroom for half of the days, and then they're going to clean the classroom, so it's probably the rest of the week. From the city, they said they had no choice. Health and safety of migrants in our care is a top priority. This relocation is a proactive measure being taken out by hundreds of prostitution and safety and well-being of individuals working in the setting. It makes me wonder what they're doing on the design of jails. They also can drive trucks into those crooked highway bubbles. So they, I imagine, on Randall's Island, a location which is always a bit challenging. It really is an island. Where are those kids going to go? On top of that, that was brought up by Ron DeSantis last night. This is an example of a concerned New Yorker without kids watching. It's just that I'm trying to show that's one that's it took me 16 years to get my citizen, my achievement, my green card.
16 years.
A lot of people that have been working really hard to get their citizenship in this country. They're getting free New York IDs, they're getting free shelter, free food, free clothing. Everything is for free, and it's on our taxpayers, not anybody else's.
So another neighbor said there are 1,900 people getting thrown into my neighborhood, half a block from where I live, and we don't know who they are. They're not vetted, and a lot of them have criminal records and backgrounds, and we don't even know. Students and teachers, they don't know where they're going back, right? And the students learning, it's so disruptive. And one of the councilwomen who's a Republican in the city said that they should stay somewhere like the Park Slope
My question is, all places in New York City, why would they place them in school and make the students suffer?
You know, they don't want to put them in Park Slope. It's rich. Those rich people don't want illegal immigrants in their gyms, in their houses, in their complexes. You put it in working class communities. That's the key. They don't have much choice. That's why on Long Island, they put them in places like Brentwood. You want a working class community, heavily Spanish, who doesn't really have a lot of political sway. But this is a major story because there's limited resources in the cities, buried in debt right now, already cutting back on cops and firefighters, and now additional fees for illegals. And guys, they keep on coming to the Port Authority. No one's stopping them.
Well, here's the thing, you know, it could have been so much worse because currently the city of New York is housing 60,000 migrants all across the city. Brian, you mentioned Randall's Island. According to the New York Post this morning, they didn't take the migrants from Randall's Island because it's not prone to flooding. They were worried about the flooding out there at Floyd Bennett Field. But as they moved,
not the winds.
yeah, well, they weren't. It's the other is a runway with a lot of open space. But here's the thing: in this particular neighborhood where they moved all of those migrants, how many of those people in Brooklyn voted for Joe Biden? I would bet most of them voted for.
This is his crisis.
Absolutely. You know what? This morning they are furious about what's happened. They are now motivated to think that this guy doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to migration. It's curious. There was something circulating on Twitter yesterday. A fellow by the name of Tom D said that, and this is, I haven't confirmed this, but apparently he had heard that Lee Zeldin from New York has received formal media training. He's being vetted to serve as Donald Trump's vice president. What that would mean is that Donald Trump is interested in trying to flip New York State, you know, from going Democrat, as it has for decades, to red. In an issue like this, with Lee Zeldin as his vice president, if this rumor is true, I can see exactly where this is.
That'd be interesting. It's really New York City that causes our state to be so blue. Because there are other areas in upstate, there are places out on Long Island, they're very Republican.
And this is where the migrant problem is taking place.
Joe Biden's crisis. So when you're going to the polls, just remember, this is his crisis. And you didn't know much about the crisis before, probably, because you didn't live in Texas. But now the rest of the country is discovering what his crisis looks like, because many of these migrants are moving into your community. They get free housing, they get free food, everything's for free. They don't pay for anything. And then when you look at what we're paying per student to go to school in New York City, more than $45,000 a student, and they're being kicked out and someone else is moving in that didn't come here the right way. And I love that soundbite of the man who said, I'm from Israel, it took me more than a decade to get here. We did it the right way. Why do you think you can jump the line?
Well, those migrant kids are learning up with an education that costs taxpayers $45,000 per kid. When you look at the Rio Grande River and you see the migrants going across with the children, your heart breaks for it. But it's the number of kids who wound up in New York City schools. Just remember, just see an invisible $45K on each one of those kids.
There's nothing wrong with thinking about your country first, but there's also nothing wrong with those kids. I'm watching a 7-year-old get off the school bus, go into a high school. It's a tough situation. We have nothing against those kids. They're put in this situation. Their parents thought it would be a great idea to come to America. We just can't absorb it, and our president can't understand it. Governor Ron DeSantis knows New York's story is a national story. Listen to him last night.
You talk about putting Americans last. You're having these kids, you're depriving these kids of in-person education to be able to house people that don't have a right to be here to begin with. That's Joe Biden's America in a nutshell. So I think it's disgraceful that that's happening. So, this has been one of Biden's biggest failures, just simply because he has more control over this. There's certain things the president may not have today. He can stop it.
Tonight on Fox, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Donald Trump is sitting in his restaurant.
Brian, did you see that heckler's last night? The United States was up there on both the lines.
You could win.
Another person harmonic from New York. You're getting knocked out by she's getting up and come back.
Word is that she's a finalist to be the running. She get the nomination.
Ask if she's getting former media.
Well, Lee doesn't need any training, man. He's experienced.
I'm just saying, he's apparently a training group. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Trust your family's comfort to America's most trusted water heater brand. Get an A.O. Smith Signature Series water heater exclusively at Lowe's. Call 866-422-1414 by noon, Monday through Friday, to get your A.O. Smith water heater installed the same day by Lowe's.
By the people, by the real people. Greatly respected. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. 4 days ago, crooked Joe Biden gave one of the most dangerous and deluded speeches ever delivered from the Oval Office. It was disaster.
Not only presentation, which was too good. It's the word.
Less than 1 week after, innocent men, women, children, and babies were kidnapped, raped, tortured, slaughtered in the worst in Israeli history. What's the worst in the history, actually? Babies, I guess they said 42 babies with their heads chopped off. Think of that one. They don't even want to talk about it. Crooked Joe went before the American people and said that if you want to support Israel, then you have to give a blank check for the proxy war also in Ukraine, having to do with Russia and Ukraine, which is another one. By the way, it would have never happened if we were the president. If we didn't have that election, you wouldn't have that, you wouldn't have inflation, you wouldn't have had the attack on Israel, you wouldn't have had a lot of the horrible things. The world is exploding. If you take a look, I mean, the whole world is exploding. You know, I was very honored. There's a man, Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. He's the leader of, right? He's the leader of Turkey. Fronts on both Russia. Yeah, you can sit down. We'll be here for a little while. We got plenty of time. What the hell? I'm very honored that you're all standing, but sit down. They'll be standing in a couple of minutes as soon as we say some of the things they like, because they're waiting. They're waiting for that. But Viktor Orban, and he's the head of Hungary, and he runs it tough. Let me tell you, he runs it properly. He runs it strong with crime and everything else. He runs it strong, and he doesn't let terrorists into his country. They said, what do you recommend for Joe Biden if you could tell him anything? I tell him to resign and let Trump become president, because nobody ran China, Russia, North Korea. Nobody ever did a job like Trump did a job. I tell him to get out and let Trump run things like he was doing before. Little truth to that, maybe a lot of truth to that. Biden said that if you want to stop terrorists, then you have to give him billions of dollars to support illegal aliens invading the United States. You know, many of the people coming in, you notice there are so many young men, young, strong men, and they're coming in from areas that are right now in war. A lot of different areas. We have a lot of wars going on all over. So we had no wars. We beat ISIS, 100% of ISIS. You know what we did. But we have a lot of different ways. You can very much end up in World War III because we have an incompetent president. You know, the United States has such a tremendous influence on what's going on in the world that a lot of people didn't realize it until lately. You have to be respected as a country. Maybe feared, but really respected. You have to be, at a minimum, respected. Joe Biden's speech was a grotesque betrayal of Israel and a confused mess of uniform warmongering. An American last. You want to see American last? They want America last, ladies and gentlemen. Pushing conflict abroad and distracting from as many disasters at home. They've allowed, I believe, 15 million people into the country from all of these
More than 15 million still.
jails, mental institutions. And wait till you see what's going to happen with all those people. They're not coming in just because they like our weather. They like our weather for bad reasons. Crooked Joe can't even walk up the children's stairs in Air Force One, you know? Well, doesn't that look terrible? You want to see a man walk out or woman walk nice and high, wave to everybody. This guy goes through the little stairs. We call them the children's stairs. And now he's made it a common practice because he can't quite make it up or down. I think he has a bigger time making it up. Usually it's supposed to be easier. Let's not even think about it. Or find his way off the stage. He can't find his way off the stage. You ever see the makes a speech if you go out that? Oh God, thank you. And they're screaming at him. They're saying, "No, you got this." I mean, he can make a bad speech, but you got to be able to see, you know, you came in here, I can even go out there, I see there's an exit there, or exit here, you got exits all over. It's unbelievable. And this guy's in charge of the most dangerous time in our history. He's in charge of it, and the weaponry is so massive and so powerful that this won't be World War II or World War I with army tanks running around shooting at each other. World War III will be an obliteration. It'll be something like nobody's ever seen before. And we have a man that's not capable. He's not capable. Well, they're really good at cheating on elections, but that's not him. That's a whole group of radical left lunatics. To every American who's terrified that Crooked Joe's weakness will cause catastrophic global conflict, excuse me, it already is. I make this promise to you as president. I will restore peace through strength, and we will stop World War III. We will not have World War III. And I know all the players. I know them all. I know them all. Because it was Joe Biden with his weakness and what he did with Iran and others that caused the attack on Israel. That's very simple. They would have never attacked. They would have never attacked Israel. Never. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine. You wouldn't have inflation. You wouldn't have any inflation right now. It was energy that went up like skyrocketed. He stopped it. Just no more. Let's have everything. Thank you. He sounds like a good candidate. Who said that? Who said that? Stand up. Let me see. He's a real man. He's a real man. Unlike Joe Biden, I will stand with our friend and ally, the state of Israel, 100%. We'll stand with them 100%. And unlike Crooked Joe, I will fully support Israel's vision of ensuring that the Zionist group Hamas is defeated, dismantled, and permanently destroyed. Let them destroy it. And they have to be careful in their type of attack. Going in is a lot of risks to that with the mines that are put all over the place and the tunnels probably.
Hell yeah, Trump 2024.
They know what they're doing. And
I gotta get some milk in a minute. We'll be right back. I gotta get some milk.
Also full of terrorists. By the time I left, there was nothing. They were broke. They were broke. The Iranian regime could barely afford to turn out the lights, and we had a lot of interesting discussions. We would have had a deal with Iran, one that was good for everybody, one that was good for them. They might have not have known it at the time, but it would have been good for them. But that not give them access, we cannot give them access to nuclear weapons. We would have had a deal with them 1 week after the election. I believe that. I believe that. They were ready to make a deal because they were so, they were poor. They were actually poor. China, I said, if you buy, you're not going to deal with the United States, or we're going to tariff you at a level of about 100% on everything you do sell in. I said that to India too. I said it to other nations, and they weren't buying oil from Iran at all. They weren't buying any oil, and Iran was not doing well. And the 70 billion that they had was actually, I think, closer to 100 billion. It disappeared very rapidly. And if you notice, all of the problems, all of the big problems, they all stopped. And I never talked about it during my 4 years, but look what happened. We didn't have any attacks in the United States for 4 years. I never wanted to say it during, I can't say it. I wanted to for 2 years. I wanted to say, look how good things are. We had the ban, we had the whole thing banned. They said, oh, that's such a terrible thing, a ban from horrendous, dangerous nations. We had a ban. I think that's okay, but we didn't have an attack for 4 years. About 2 days after I left, I said, how good did we do? We did great. We did great because we were respected and probably feared. But the election was rigged and it was stolen, and sadly, Crooked Joe surrendered my tough sanctions immediately to Iran. And now, once again, Iran probably has close to $100 billion to finance terror, and Israel's paying a big price, paying a very big price. Iran is a very rich country right now. When I left, they were broke. They were broke. And they would have made a deal very quickly, but now they're very rich, and I think it's very hard to make a deal. The minute I'm back in the White House, not only will I impose the most crippling sanctions in history, we will also unleash the most powerful economic weapon. We will drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. Most powerful weapon. Can you believe what we're doing with the electric cars? All electric. Nobody wants them. Oh, we want all electric. Darling, I'd love to drive to New Jersey, but the car won't go that far. I don't want to stop. I don't want to stop 7 times, darling. Remember the old days when we had those old-fashioned cars that would just drive you to New Jersey and back with a tank of gas? It's nothing like the modern times when we have to stop 7 times to get a charge. Under the Trump administration, we had energy independence, and soon we would have been energy dominant. We were going to be selling our energy to Europe instead of Russia, selling it, and we would have been taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We would have been reducing our debt. We would have gotten our debt, which is tremendous now, tremendous. I was doing that, and then we got hit with COVID, and we had to do other things. We got hit with COVID at the end. We had to do other things. Nobody has ever had an economy, and we did it twice. We did it twice, and actually the second time was really harder because of COVID. We did a great job with that, never got the credit from the fake news, but we did a great job. We handed him something that was very good. And I got the price of oil below $40 a barrel at some points. Think of it. Gutting Iran's ability to finance war and terror, and likewise Russia. Russia wouldn't have been able to prosecute the war against Ukraine at $40, but at $100 and $115, and now it looks like we're going up to records.
With Biden, the price of oil is nearing $100 a barrel. It's going to be much higher than that soon. And they have all the money they want. So these people that like to fight wars that have oil are making a fortune. Nobody's ever made a fortune fighting a war, but they're making a fortune far more than anybody has ever made before as a country. And they pay the radical Islamic thugs as much money as they want because they have so much money. Crooked Joe surrendered our energy independence, and he made Iran rich again, really rich, and he made America very poor. We're a very poor nation. We owe $35 trillion. We're very poor. And he used the reserves, our strategic reserves. He took it out so that he could have lower gasoline prices for cars. It wasn't meant for, politics. It was meant for wars. And we're now at the lowest level in our strategic reserves in history. In history, nobody's ever remembered. We're down the bottom. We've never been at a level like that. I poured in a lot. In fact, if it wasn't for Congress, we would have had, I had a deal to buy it for $25 a barrel and even lower than that. But we bought a lot, and we got it at great prices.
7:57 a.m.
And if it wasn't for the Democrats, we would have had that whole thing filled up at about $25 a barrel. But they thought, you shouldn't do that. We need that for war. We need that for security, not for cars going back and forth so that you vote for somebody because the oil price is 10 cents less. That's not the reason. He attacked American energy while he unleashed Iranian energy. Look what he did with Venezuela. Remember? Venezuela. Take a look at that. So am I right? Am I right? Venezuela, we would have had something done with Venezuela. You could have gone back there. Now you can. He's right. Thank you very much. And I didn't put him out there, by the way. He's not a campaign finance person. But you're right. We're pouring money into Venezuela. We're getting tar. They have very heavy tar. It's really tar that you have to burn. And you know where it gets burned? In Houston. It's the only plant. It's the only refinery in the world that can do it because it's very heavy, very dirty. And we're doing it, and we're taking it out of Venezuela instead of under our feet. We have liquid gold under our feet. We have more than any other nation, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than anybody. And it's beautiful. Light sweet. Did you ever hear of light sweet? You know what that is? Light sweet. I call it liquid gold, and we have more than anybody. He funded Hamas, Hezbollah. Hezbollah is now starting, you see, in the north. How about the top security person for Biden said, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack us from the north because that's where we're most vulnerable. Can you believe it? The following morning we got attacked from the north. Can you believe the guy he's a national security advisor? I hope that Hezbollah doesn't attack Israel from the north. Because that's where we're the most vulnerable. The following morning they got attacked.
That guy is so dumb.
But this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with stupid people.
That's what happens when you deal with stupid people.
Hezbollah abroad, well, he wants the world he was attacking his political opponent. Nobody ever got indicted as a political opponent. When you're finished, President, we're not finished. By the way, if I wasn't, probably would be right now having a good time in life. But I'm having a good time for a different reason, because we're going to make our country great again. We're going to bring it back.
I like that. That's a smart business talk from Mr. Donald J. Trump.
But we'll do the exact opposite. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The spirit, I'm saying coming up, every house has a Trump sign on it, everything. And
your best defense against erosion cavities is strong enamel. Nothing beats it. New Pro Enamel Active Shield actively shields the enamel to defend against erosion and cavities. I think that this product is a game changer for my patients. It really works.
Let's get to work.
Boys Theory, we go all South Carolina, every place we go, the houses, Trump 2024. And I was saying that the spirit right now is greater than it ever was in 2016 or 2020 was unbelievable, but they did a lot of bad things, and they used COVID to cheat, and there was a lot of things happened. You know, people couldn't go out, they were afraid to go out, a lot of bad things happened, the ballots all over the place. They had more ballots for bad voters, little things like that, right? But they used it to cheat, and they're not going to get away with it this time. There's more spirit now than I ever saw in 2020 or 2016. You see it here. And I think the two reasons are, number one,
It's unlocked now.
We have the strongest border in history. If you would have, you know, you guys did the beach a lot, right? If you would have gone to the beach and not done anything, you would have the best border. We have the best people. Tom Holman is incredible, right?
Don't say I didn't warn
This isn't turning out so great.
I am the Avatar.
Gone to hell. They hate it. They are really amazing. They're great people. I will shut down Iranian energy and I'll unlock American energy like never before, and we will once again make the Iranian dictatorship very poor. And we're going to make the American people very rich. Look, Iran was broke when I left. I don't want to use a term like that, but Iran was broke. And now they're rich. Over 3 years, they have close to $100 billion. They're rich as hell. That's peanuts compared to what they need to keep other things and other people. We will cut the cost of energy for New Hampshire families to half. I have to go very quickly. You know, you have the highest energy costs. Is anybody here not from New Hampshire? Anybody else? Well, we get they like to hear. They like, you know, we do the rallies like once a month. We do those rallies. But, you know, people come to the so that's a lot of people. There's a very select group of people from New Hampshire. So, yeah, this guy, Front Row Joe, right? Front Row Joe, stand up. This guy, he's a lot of these, and we can't get it up because it's just an optimist. Look, our country's in trouble, really big trouble. Probably like it's never been before, but we're going to make it great again. We're going to make our country great again, but we're going to make it, we really still have that chance greater than ever before. I really believe that. We're going to make it greater than ever before. And so when people like our friends, the Front Row Joes that are traveling all over the country, I don't know what the hell they do for a living. They must have a lot of money. You must have been very successful. How many events have you guys gone to? How much? 67th rally.
67.
That's pretty good. Who's in his vote?
He got my vote.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You know, he's a great American. He's a patriot. He wants to see our country do well. But under my leadership, we kept you so safe from terrorists that you never really had to think about it. The Biden came along, he blew everything up. Remember the horrible situation we had with the border, which was a fraction of what it was now, as an example of what it is now. We had a horrible situation with the border. And I came in and I talked about coming through, and I mentioned the word rape, and they said, how dare they mention rape? I mean, the large percentages of the women coming up get raped. Large percentages. What I said was like baby talk compared to the fact. I mean, I was actually being very conservative in what I was saying, but they couldn't stand it. But when you looked at it and you saw it, nobody's ever seen anything like that. And it sounded really bad to me. I did such a good job that in 2020, I couldn't talk about the border because nobody wanted to hear it because we had no problem with the border. The border was secure. We had no problem. So I couldn't talk about the border. And I used to say, and I would say maybe it was my biggest or second biggest thing other than the economy and the economics of a country. But it was just about my biggest thing. And I said, you know, I got to talk about the border. And when I got so used to talking about it, they said, sir, nobody cares about the border anymore. You fixed the problem. Nobody cares. I couldn't even say I fixed the problem. People forgot we had a problem. We had a horrible border in 2016. And then we fixed it. I couldn't talk about it in 2020. I couldn't even mention people start falling asleep. Then, today, you don't mind if I talk about the border because, man, do we have to talk about the border. But Biden canceled my travel ban on terror-plagued nations. He threw open our borders, surrendered to the Taliban. He totally surrendered. What that whole thing was so bad in Afghanistan. That was the lowest moment in the history of our country. He gave away tens of billions of dollars to Iran, swamped American communities with pro-jihadist refugees. That's a nice term, pro-jihadist. And proclaimed that the #1 terror threat was not ISIS or Al-Qaeda, but Trump supporters, MAGA supporters. How about that? MAGA. MAGA's the problem. You know what MAGA is? MAGA are patriots. They're patriots that want to see our country be great. They don't want women raped on the streets. They don't want people mugged and beaten up. And they're the people you see at school board meetings begging for sanity in our schools. It's an incredible thing. I watched Biden with that one, remember, with the red background, looked like the devil. He had that horrible, I don't know, whoever his set designer, the same set designer does the same set of him. You know those chairs are meant so a child can pick them up. They weigh like 4, they're incredible. You can pick them up like this. You see this guy walking around. And he sleeps on the beach all day long, and we have potentially World War III going on. It's horrible. It's horrible to watch. It's horrible to see. But he made that speech with that horrible red background. That background might have been worse than the beach. It was a horrible, nasty background. And he talked about MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. And if I would have said, what does MAGA stand for? He has no idea. Make America Great Again, right? He has no idea. If I would say, what does MAGA stand for, Joe? You know what he'd say? And then some guy like Chris Wallace would cut you off if it's a debate. Well, that has nothing to do. I said, no, it does. Remember when I said he got $3.5 million with Chris Wallace? How's he doing lately? Not too good. That debate killed him. But what happened is, I said, how come he got $3.5 million cash from the mayor of Moscow's wife? And Chris Wallace said, he's not allowed to answer that question. I said, I think it has a lot to do. And Joe just stood there hoping that Chris Wallace was going to win that debate. But it's terrible because, you know, they're protected by the fake news media. I was proud to say that the fake news media today had the worst approval rating in the history of fake news. 34%. I don't believe it's 30. I don't believe it's 34%. I don't believe it. No, I don't believe it's 34%. There's a lot of cameras back there. It's amazing what ratings do, isn't it? They don't want to cover me. But if Trump gets twice the ratings of anyone else, we get about 5 times the ratings. If we get much more.
Why did no one tell Illinois drivers about this new rule?
If you're currently insured, drive less than 50 miles a day, and live in a qualified zip code, you can get an extremely high discount. Additionally, if you have no tickets, if you have not received a ticket in 3 years, you could get even more discounts. But do you think your auto insurance company will tell you that? I don't think so. Now listen to this. When Miranda, a good friend of mine, entered her zip code at comparison.org, she was shocked. She found out her local insurance agent was ripping her off. Yes, literally, ripping her off. She actually managed to reduce her insurance premium by 50%. Now, this is the rule that everyone needs to know. Never, ever buy insurance without comparing rates and discounts from an unbiased source first. Survey data indicates it's possible to save more than $500 per year on car insurance rates, if you know how. So comparisons.org put together this free, simple 60-second quiz. And at the end, you'll get a list of the top offers that are catered to your specific driving preferences, zip code, and more. You can save up to 50% on your car insurance. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code right now and stop getting ripped off. By the way, you're never locked into your current policy. If you've already paid your current policy, you can very easily cancel, and the balance will be refunded. So simply scan this QR code right now and enter your zip code and fill out some basic information in order to review quotes and discounts from top companies.
Simply pull out your phone right now and scan this QR code to save up to 50% on your car insurance.
It's amazing the abuse they'll take. But listen, they got the low, and it's a bad thing, really, because if we had a fair media and honest, but we have the most dishonest media. I saw MSDNC, right? MSDNC, because it's really a branch of the Democrat National Committee. I saw them the other day. Biden made that horrible speech. The delivery was an F. And the content was probably as bad, almost as bad, but the delivery was so bad. And that was it. And I just want to see what they say. What a great speech that was. Isn't it wonderful to have such a wonderful I said, it's crazy. I remember he made a State of the Union speech. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. Stumbling, mumbling, didn't know where the hell he was. And then CNN, I watched CNN. They said, I like to see what they do. They said that was one of the greatest speeches since FDR. You know, FDR was a great speaker, right? He was a great speaker. He sat because of a situation, but he was an elegant, beautiful, elegant, and eloquent. And he was a great speaker, and they showed him speaking, America will be great. We were attacked today. You have to understand, now they showed this guy who can't put together two sentences. And they say, that's one of the finest State of the Union addresses since FDR. And it just drives you wild. Not because of competition, not because of it. It's just so damn dishonest, let's face it. Let's face it. One of the finest since FDR. At least they didn't say Churchill. Churchill is one of the greats. Yeah, no, well, he is. He's controlled by people that surround his desk, I believe. In short, I would say. But in short, Joe Biden has been a nightmare for Israel and for Americans. He's been, as bad as you could be. But Crooked Joe has been a dream president for radical Islamic terrorists. He's been a dream. He's been a dream, an absolute dream. Look what they built. Look at the power they have. They send thousands and thousands of missiles every night. Where the hell do they get thousands of missiles? Each one is expensive as hell. No, but think of it. They allowed this to happen. Everything Biden has said for many years has been wrong. He's been so bad on foreign policies. His Secretary of States in the various administrations have said he's a disaster. He has terrible instincts, whether regarding the horrible Afghanistan disaster, Ukraine, our completely open southern border. I mean, who would want to have an open border? Or now the attack on Israel. He's been a disaster, but these things never would have happened during the Trump administration. Our once great country is in a giant mess. And you just have to take a look at Europe to see what happens if we don't win. You know, Europe is not exactly doing great because when we do badly, they do badly. We are, in theory, the leader of the world, and we're leading so badly, and they don't care and they don't respect us anymore. They respected me when France wanted to put taxes on our businesses. I said, you can't do it. And you know the story. I said, you can't do it. There's no taxes on our businesses. What are you doing, man? He said, Macron, nice guy. Look, he's for France. I'm for us. I'm for us. You know how you spell us, right? You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up. Has anyone ever thought of that? I just picked that up. A couple of days I'm reading and it said us. And I said, you know, if you think about it, us equals U.S. Isn't that? Now, if we say something genius, they'll never say it. You know, we get 25, 30, 40, 50, 80,000, 100,000 people to speeches. They'd never. I guess a lot of you want to sit. They want to sit and look at me, like a beauty pageant. No, it's amazing. I mean, the other day in Iowa, we had thousands and thousands. You couldn't get them into this big, big room. And Ron DeSanctimonious had like 22 people. And they said, they both spoke. You know, it's like, it's incredible. But in Brussels this month, a radical Islamic terrorist migrant viciously shot and murdered 2 Swedish soccer fans and gravely wounded a third person on the way to a sporting event. He did it for fun. He did it for fun. Didn't know him, did it for fun. In France, a school teacher and father of 3 was savagely butchered in a schoolyard. His throat was slit by an assassin shouting, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. And in London, Berlin, and Amsterdam, mobs of pro-Hamas terrorist sympathizers cheered in the streets for the torture and murder of children. They were cheering for the murder of children. And we have them in this country. I mean, I hate to say it. We have that crazy Talib. We have Talib. Is she crazy? She's crazy. But you have AOC plus 3. I call them AOC plus 3. You have AOC plus 3. And they've changed, and I will say this, they've changed the narrative to a large extent. When you see some of these rallies that are cheering against us and cheering against Israel, think of it, they're cheering like crazy for death to America, for death to Israel. And you wonder what happened to our country over the last 15 years. Very dangerous. This is the sickness and depravity that Joe Biden and his open borders maniacs want to bring to America, and we will not let them do it. We're going to close it up, and we're not going to let them. And if you want to come into the country, you can, but you have to come in legally. You have to come in legally. A vote for Crooked Joe is a vote to turn the United States into a hotbed of jihadists and make our cities into dumping grounds, very much resembling the Gaza Strip. Have you been to the Gaza Strip? A vote for President Trump is a vote to secure the border, and it's a vote to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. On day 1, I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban. Remember when they said, oh, that's so vicious, but it kept us safe. And it passed in the Supreme Court of the United States. They sued me in every different court. You wouldn't believe it. But on entry from terror-plagued countries and called all of the refugee settlements to the United States. They want to come in. They want to bring the same people that are shooting rockets at Israel. They want to come into the United States. I don't think a lot of good things are going to happen. And I will implement strong ideological screening of all immigrants. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you don't like our religion, which a lot of them don't, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we don't want you in our country, and you are not getting in, right? We don't want you. Get out of here. Get fired. Unbelievably, Ron DeSanctimonious, his campaign, which is dying like a falling bird from the sky. Did you ever see a campaign that was so bad as this one? Well, you need some personality. You know? You can be a politician, but you got to have a little personality to go along with it. He's dying. I also got him elected, and he forgot about it. You know, that guy was so dead. I said, Ron, nobody. George Washington, coming back from the dead, couldn't save you. He said, sir, you're very popular in Florida. If you go and endorse me, I'll win. I said, I don't know. Maybe Lincoln, Washington together could help, but I don't think so anyway. But I gave it a shot, because I know him just a little bit. I didn't even know him well, but he was one of the 150 congressmen that would be on television always fighting against impeachment hoax number 1 and impeachment hoax number 2. and other various and sundry other, hoaxes and scams and shams, scams and shams. And so he would spend, so I said, all right, look, let's give it a shot. And he went like a rocket ship. And the guy was winning by 40 points or something. He was the Secretary of Agriculture, nice guy. But I didn't know him, so I didn't feel guilty. I didn't know him. I knew Ron a little bit. So I endorsed Ron, and he went through the roof, and he ended up winning the primary in a landslide. Then he couldn't beat the crackhead that he was running against. And he was getting very bad poll numbers. I said, let's do a couple of rallies, because they like me in Florida, and I like the people of Florida. And we did some rallies, and they were massive rallies. And I said, you're going to win. I don't think so, sir. Because the guy that he was running against, you know who I'm talking about, he was him and Stacey Abrams, the biggest female in the party, the biggest male in the party, biggest meaning politically, okay? Biggest male in the party. He was going to be president. They said, he'll be president someday. He's a good-looking guy. But he didn't do too well. And Ron just beat him, but he only beat him because of the rallies I did. And then 4 years later, they say, will you run against President Trump? He said, I have no comment. He said, no comment? That means he's running, right? When no comment, this guy has no comment. You know what? That means he's a bad seed. That means he's not loyal. There's no loyalty. I did a lot for Florida because of Florida more than him, but I did a lot for Florida. I gave them tremendous money when they have the hurricanes. I always made sure it was there right away and all the different things. I love Florida. I do it for you too. I do it for everybody. But when you get somebody in office, that wasn't like I helped him. That was like he was dead. He was at 3% or something. He failed. And the only thing he was successful on is getting me to endorse him. When I endorsed him, he went through the roof. But 4 years later, he totally forgot. So he's a bad seed. So I hit him rather hard. And now he's, as I say, like they wounded him very badly. Hurt birdie, falling to the ground. And the campaign rapidly opposed my call for tough ideological screening on all foreign nationals. He was totally against it. 2 days later, Ron DeSantis flip-flopped and plagiarized my entire plan, just like Bird Brain, the flip-flop. Who's Bird Brain? Does anybody know who Bird Brain is? Yes, everybody. That name is sort of stuck. Someday I'll tell you why. She said, I will never vote against President Trump. I will never run against President. Remember? Leaving the White House. He's one of the greatest presidents in our history. I would never run against him. 15 seconds later, I'll be announcing my run for president. Where do these people come from? And she's not doing well, and he's not doing well. Frankly, nobody's doing well except us. We're the only ones doing well. But she flip-flopped. Last week, you saw that disaster after proposing to flood America with refugees from Gaza. Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea, doesn't it? So DeSantis and Bird Brain are too weak and too timid, and politically, we need people that are going to defend our country. Our country is in trouble. We need people that are going to defend our country. And I'm the only candidate who says it with relish. I say it with pride. We will put all of us together, but I will be the leader on this. Put America first. We're going to put America first. Very simple. Biden puts America last. Under Biden, 270,000 illegal aliens were detected charging across our border. It's like an invasion. In September alone, it's a record. Nobody's ever seen it. 270,000 is larger than most cities. Millions have infiltrated since he took office. I believe the real number is 15 million people. You hear 3, 4, 5 sometimes. I believe the number is 15 million. Many are terrorists. Many of them are terrorists. Other countries are emptying out their prisons, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They say, please, sir, please, don't use the name insane asylum. That's Silence of the Lambs stuff, Hannibal Lecter was from an insane asylum. They said, sir, this is very tough. Of course, it's true, right? Yes, it's true, but it's very tough. I said, then I'll say that it's true. They're emptying out their mental institutions, insane asylums, their prisons, and their jails. And you have many, many thousands of terrorists pouring into our country. And I'll tell you, does anybody want to hear the stink? Because, we have it. And people, they always want to hear the stink. But I love it. I think it's so emblematic of what we're going through, because we're allowing people in our country that are going to do great harm to us someday. And we're going to get them the hell out. We're going to have the largest deportation effort you've ever seen. But I'll do it because I heard somebody just scream, "Could we have the steak, sir?" Said, "Have you heard it before?" Yes, maybe 10 times. But good luck.